The Titans offense stole the day at Wednesday's practice. Cam Ward with a major bounce back day. We're going to get into everything that happened at this practice and look ahead to tomorrow's joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it.
They're going to play in every game, and we're going to let Cam play. So he's going to be on the field playing football. Hard to say how much at the moment. We'll work through that as we get to the practice tomorrow, but I would imagine for sure a series and maybe two in the first game with the starters, so he'll play.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo. Justin, I wasn't verbatim accurate on how Callahan would tell people that Cam Ward was playing in the preseason, but I was pretty damn close.
You were indeed pretty close. Nice to see Brian Callahan confirm that Cam Ward will play a series or two, not just Saturday against Tampa, but it sounded like that's going to be the plan for every preseason game. He did sort of prefix it by saying that the joint practice with Tampa will also have play a role on how much everyone plays. Now, he did talk about the physicality of that. Of course, Cam Ward not really going to be subject to the physical aspect of joint practice, but it does sound like that'll alter his approach to how much he plays the starters in the preseason. But could officially get excited that we will be seeing Cam Ward's NFL debut on Saturday.
Right, and Callahan said he would play in all three preseason games, and also said that compared it to last year's preseason and thought that the way they prepared for week one was actually really good last year and that they came out with some fire against the Bears. And all of that is true. They didn't fall apart in that game until the end. But he did also say that Cam Ward might play a little bit more than what Will Levis played last year, just being a rookie and wanting to get him that experience. So we might have some fun preseason stuff to look forward to, but we're going to talk today not about the preseason, but about Wednesday's practice. Justin, we also have our big channel announcement to make. I'm building that runway because I'm not making it right now. We're going to do it later in the show. So stay tuned for that big announcement. And then we'll do a little bit of looking ahead to the joint practices where I thought Brian Callahan said something that made my eyebrows raise a little bit. And I'll tell you what that is later in the show. Let's get to practice.
Are you going to actually say anything on the show or just tease after tease? There's a full episode of teasing.
That's, so you got to play. It's the art of entertainment is you got to capture that attention, and you can't just give it all away right at once. You got to get people on the hook, and you got to reel them in, and that is a little process to it, and that's what we're doing here. But let's get into practice. Wednesday's practice. Yes, the offense reportedly dominated. I mean, stole the day big time was what I read and saw online, and it seems like Cam Ward was part of that major bounce back leading the way. Titans had a lot of red zone work today. They did work in the 2-minute drill today, and we're going to discuss that. But let's start with, the early 7-on-7 red zone stuff where Cam Ward threw 3 touchdown passes in that period, threw more touchdown passes in the team period. Guys like Van Jefferson, Alec Iamaner were catching passes in the end zone. Xavier Restrepo had a really nice, what they called a shoelace grab from Brandon Allen in some one-on-one stuff early, and then caught a touchdown from Brandon Allen in the team period in the red zone running with the twos. So overall, it wasn't just Cam Ward and the first team offense. All 3 units of offense apparently dominated the defense today. You love to see that bounce back.
Yeah, I think Oprah Winfrey might have been at practice today because it was you get a touchdown, I thought Matt Landers got a touchdown, Josh Wiley caught a touchdown. Like, it's totally outrageous how much success the offense had. Now, we always talk about 7-on-7. I don't know. I saw a coaching clip the other day say, I don't like it because it's not real football. And, I do.
You know who else said that back in OTAs? Cam Ward threw an interception and said, 7-on-7, I don't count that. It's not real football.
What I'll say about this is it's nice to see him throwing some touchdowns in that period because even though it's 7-on-7, it was 7-on-7 in the red zone, if I'm recalling correctly. And they've had a lot of struggles down there in 7-on-7 on the red zone at prior practices, ones that Brian Callahan chewed them out for. So anytime you're able to get into the end zone, like I think the Van Jefferson one was an in-breaking route. I think that was technically third down on that touchdown because the first 2 were incompletion. So it's good to be able to get to work in those pressure situations, right? You're going to have third downs in the red zone in week one, certainly during the regular season. So the ability to convert those opportunities, as we both know, is often the difference between wins and losses. I mean, how many times did we come on here? I think of the Jets game last year, week 2, where they were bad in the red zone. how many times do we come on here and say, well, it was a 6-point loss. They didn't convert in the red zone. They went down there 4 times, only had 1 touchdown, settled for field goals. You got to score in those high-pressure situations. So even though it was 7-on-7, it was nice to see them do that a little bit on Wednesday.
Right, and the run game takes pressure off that, but it sounded like this was a lot of passing stuff, and especially when you're in 7-on-7, it's all passing. So yeah, good to see those conversions take place. And this bounce back day, I mean, after what happened on Sunday, Justin, how did it mean a lot to you? Like, did it matter if the offense bounced back today? It's one day in training camp. It's August 6th. It's like they have plenty of time or whatever to keep improving. And Brian Callahan said he likes where the offense is at, but also thinks that they have he said he likes the trajectory they're on, that they're not there yet, but that they're continuing to improve. Like, do you think it was, I don't want to call it necessary, but was it necessary that they bounced back today? How would you have felt if they didn't?
I think it was, and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to give my personal opinion. Like a couple shows ago, after it was Sunday's practice that went really, really poorly, and we had Easton Freeze on to talk about it, I was critical a little bit about how Brian Callahan responded, right? Like, there was the profanity lacing rant at the end of it, if you will, at Family Day, which is hilarious. All the kids within earshot listening to Callahan drop F-bombs. I was going to ask if he did the Vince Vaughn thing in Old School and, the earmuffs. You can say whatever you want, but I don't think he did. But anyway, I was critical of, not so much about the rant, but the fact that they were running like gassers, as you call them, after that practice. And then in relation to the rant, I think you and I in the past have both questioned how authentic Brian Callahan is when he gets angry as a head coach, because he feels like a pretty level-headed guy. He's an X's and O's, a smart football guy, not a rah-rah, culture leader, Mike Vrabel style, right? Like he's an X's and O's guy, wants to put you in positions to win, and then it's on to you. It's up to you to go succeed. So anytime he goes on those rants, I think it's fair that we wonder if the team buys it or not. Well, I think the message got across. I could say that with confidence when they come out and bounce back in the manner that they did on Wednesday. I'm not going to sit here and be critical of him when the point got across, right? Like he was disappointed with how the offense performed on Sunday. He let them know by yelling and swearing at them. He let them know by making them run gassers at the end of practice. Well, on Wednesday, to me, them coming back and having the type of practice that they did, winning the day, dominating the day, as some of the beat writers put it, tells me that the point did get across on Sunday and that they were anxious to come back and prove that they're on the right trajectory, as Coach Callahan put it. So, yeah, I do think it was really necessary that they had a good practice on Wednesday, especially because how the last one ended.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think it's great to see. It's exactly what you hope to see. It's what you want to see. And you need to see it continue. And there will continue to be ups and downs, I'm sure, over the next few weeks as the team gets ready for the season. But the ups are important to have. It can't be all downs. And it's been a lot of downs since basically Saturday's, the last like 2 weeks, I guess a week and a half ago, Saturday at Nissan Stadium. It's been kind of down since then. But Ben Arthur said Cam Ward and the Titans offense has been sharp today. Easton Freeze said that it's been one of Cam Ward's best practices. And in particular, Cam Ward had his best drive. And now they haven't done a ton of driving stuff. They've done a lot of situational. But today they did 2-minute drill style of offensive drills. And Cam Ward led a 10-play drive where he completed 8 passes in the 2-minute hurry-up offense and capped it off with a touchdown to Tyler Lockett. And you love to see that execution come through there in that clutch moment. And something I think, can help a rookie quarterback is sometimes playing that hurry up offense, sometimes playing that 2-minute offense. You know that you just are going out there to play ball. There's maybe less thinking involved, maybe less like dissecting. Am I, what's the read I'm supposed to make? It's just like snap the ball, see it, get it out. And it sounds like that's what happened. And it wasn't just Cam Ward's unit. Like I said at the top of the show, like all 3 units scored touchdowns in the 2-minute drill drive. Does that worry you a little bit about the defense? Maybe, but I think after the practices that we've had the last few days, before this 2-day break, that's what you want to see is the offense come out and all 3 units. It's not just Cam Ward bounced back. The entire side of the ball from first string to third string bounced back in a big way.
Well, even if Cam Ward threw a bunch of touchdowns in the red zone 7-on-7 period, and we were a little, hesitant to throw a ton of praise his way for 7-on-7 success. I'll tell you what feels like real football. It's 2-minute drills, right? When you're trailing and you get the ball. I believe they said that drive started at their own 25-yard line. So
yes,
very much a real 2-minute drill. It's a kickoff. You've got a touchback, whatever. You're starting at your own 25. To be able to lead that drive, again, that is the definition of football, right? And it ends with I believe what they called a bobbling touchdown catch to Tyler Lockett, who had Roger McCreary in coverage. And again, it feels like the matchups are even real. You've got the slot receiver up against the slot corner in that situation, and Tyler Lockett comes down with the touchdown to cap off a 10-play drive. I mean, that's the type of stuff you want to see Cam Ward string together. So I feel confident in saying that was certainly his best moment at practice. And honestly, might have been the best moment he's had at training camp, period, thus far. Like, again, a 10-play, 2-minute drill. You're simulating the end of the first half, or you're simulating the fact that you're trailing in a game late in a gotta-have-it type of situation. He shows the type of poise that you need him to have, and he goes down there and he executes.
And we haven't had a lot of reports about these kind of drives because, as I said, they haven't been doing a lot of. They've been doing like line up, it's 3rd and 9, go. Line up, it's 3rd and 15, go. Line up, it's 3rd and 6, go. And that's like they've been doing so much of that situational stuff to get him ready for these specific, crucial gotta have it moments. But as you said, like a 2-minute drive is one of those crucial gotta have it moments, but it also combines it with, like, as you said, this feels like real football. We're driving down the length of the field where, we have a sequence of play calls that build upon the last based on the result of the last play. It's not like, oh, you converted that 3rd and 9. All right, line it up and do it again. So I'm glad to see that this is happening, and I think it's really important. I don't have a ton else from practice, but we can hit some quick hitters, some back-end guys who made plays and things that stood out. And then we have Titans news to hit that actually happened yesterday right after we stopped recording. We have our big announcement to hit, and then I want to talk a little bit about tomorrow's joint practice with the Bucs. Justin, did you have some back-end guys you wanted to shout out? I think Jalen Harrell had an interception today.
Yeah, Jalen Harrell had a sliding interception off of Tim Boyle, although I did think it was funny that Teron Davenport tweeted, not sure where Boyle was going with the ball. Not sure where he was throwing it, but Jalen Harrell, he was throwing it at Jalen Harrell. Maybe they're on opposite teams and he threw it on purpose. Who knows? But Jalen Harrell came down with the interception. Again, a guy who's fighting for a roster spot. I got him as the 5th and final edge rusher on the team, so he's got to make plays like that. Stuff from O-line drills, D-line drills, pass rush stuff. T'Vondre Sweat was back at practice, by the way. Didn't do a whole lot, but he was out there. That was good to see after he missed a string of practices. Femi Oladejo continuing to trend up. I believe it was Teron Davenport who tweeted that he's using that speed rush and he's winning a bit more often. You love to see that from him. And then Arden Key also beat Dan Moore on with a spin move for a would-be sack. So some big wins for the pass rushers there. Xavier Restrepo sounded like a good day for him. We've covered him really to the point of exhaustion almost, but he needs to continue stacking these good days and joint practice with Tampa and certainly the preseason game on Saturday. I think he'll play a lot, so that'll be big for him.
Yeah, and he was spotted on the field after practice throwing with Cam Ward and
Chimere
Dike. So that was, that's been a thing. Teron Davenport said Ward and Restrepo stay after to get extra work in every day. And that's what Restrepo, fighting for a roster spot on the bubble, has to do. And if anyone's going to support him doing it, it's his college quarterback and Cam Ward. But Cam Ward, also wants to get that extra work in because he, is hard on himself and his biggest critic and wants to get that extra work as well. And he also wants Restrepo to make the team. Let's be real. Bryce Oliver.
The last note I had, was Matt Landers apparently had a phenomenal day. I think it was Parker Kelly who said he had a great day, a Matt Landers day, if you will. When you're the 11th receiver on the depth chart, 11th, 12th receiver, you need days like that. I mean, realistically, probably fighting for a practice squad spot, I would presume. But he's big, he's tall, he's long, and he's fast. So there's a lot of raw ability there. So nice to see him string together a good day.
Yeah, Bryce Oliver went in a little early today per Teron Davenport and said it was just maintenance because he wants to make sure he gets every possible rep that he can. A few other little injury things. You mentioned T'Vondre Sweat was back at practice today, but did head inside, I think, fairly early. L'Jarius Sneed and Lloyd Cushenberry were working on a side field along with Quandre Diggs, who is a Titan now, which we'll get to in just a moment. But Blake Hance, Chandler Brewer, Carlos Watkins did not practice on Wednesday, and Kevin Winston Jr. did not practice on Wednesday. This is interesting. let's get to some Titans news here, Justin. The Titans signed, we mentioned Joshua Bledsoe on yesterday's pod because that happened before we started taping. They also signed Quandre Diggs right after we finished taping, and then we saw who they released, and we were right about Mark Perry being a potential cut candidate when they sign a new safety. And they also released Titus Leo, the back end outside linebacker edge rusher guy. But very, very intriguing that they would sign two safeties in the same day, one of whom played as a starter essentially last year for the Titans and played really good football for them in Quandre Diggs, who also happens to be Cam Ward's cousin. Interesting. But the Titans safety room, when we went through our position by position breakdown, previewing training camp, we were like, the safety room is stacked. They got two great starters in Amani Hooker and Xavier Woods. They got two guys who could play like starters if needed in Mike Brown and Kevin Winston Jr. And now Kevin Winston Jr., in the last practice before today, went inside early to help manage some knee soreness as he comes back from his partially torn ACL. Didn't practice today. Titans signed two safeties, but Buck Rising reported that the signing of these two safeties had nothing to do with Kevin Winston Jr.'s health status. I don't know. I'm not sure that I believe that. Like, do you buy that they would go sign two safeties if Kevin Winston Jr. was like going to be ready to go week 1? If Kevin Winston Jr. was at practice today, I would buy it. But the fact that he's taken a rest day to manage this soreness, maybe that's just part of the normal rehab process, but signing two safeties, one of whom is, a quality player who's not going to be a starter this year for the Titans, but is going to be a guy that makes the roster and is in the rotation, most likely, in Quandre Diggs, assuming he's fully healthy from what happened to him last year. It's just a little eyebrow raising.
I land somewhere in the middle. I don't think I'm quite where you are, and I'll try to explain. A guy like Quandre Diggs, number one, who's like a veteran leader, really good locker room guy, great culture guy, played on the team last year. I don't think you're bringing him in because of Kevin Winston Jr. missing a couple of practices, because it also sounded like this had been in the works for a while with him. And then when he talked after practice, he brought up the fact that Cam Ward's his cousin. Another thing that I did know, him and Tyler Lockett are incredibly tight. He called him his best friend during a post-practice interview. They played 4 years together in Seattle, which Seattle made the playoffs 3 times in those 4 years, won the division, won a lot of football. I calculated they won 39 games in those 4 years that they played together. And then one thing I didn't notice that he mentioned is that new Titans DB coach, Tony Oden, was his position coach for the first 3 years of his career. So just a lot of connections for Quandre Diggs here in Tennessee. In fact, he said he had other offers. I would bet almost my bottom dollar that the Raiders would have been one of them, and they would have given him a chance to start. Like Pete Carroll, they just had an injury to Lonnie Johnson, the starting safety. He chose Tennessee because of Cam Ward, because of Tony Oden, because of Tyler Lockett. And then he also said he grew incredibly close to Amani Hooker, Jeffrey Simmons, and Arden Key last season. So, look, to get back to the beginning of the point, I don't want to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and complain when you bring in what I think is a really good football player in Quandre Diggs. It's a little head-scratching to me because I agree. I thought the safety room was in really good standing, and it was before. It's even better standing now. I think he's your number 4 safety when everyone is healthy. That tends to indicate he's not going to play much, right? But the everyone is healthy is quite the disclaimer to put on there because, yes, you've got a rookie who is dealing with some soreness in his knee, who had it partially torn ACL, almost a year ago now, but not quite a year yet. And you've got a guy like Amani Hooker who's been up and down with injuries throughout his career. So if something happens to one of those guys and Diggs becomes the number 3, well, now he's probably playing a lot because I do expect the Titans to have 3 safety looks quite a bit this season, right? So I'm not going to sit here and complain. A bit of a head scratcher. They could have used that somewhere else, like edge, where they could use a Quandre Diggs caliber player more so than they needed at safety. But the reason I'm getting long-winded here, but the reason I don't think 2 safeties has a whole lot to do, I look at a guy like Joshua Bledsoe, who's a special teamer, a deep back-end guy. Sometimes teams don't tell you this, but sometimes it's a numbers game. You've got a joint practice with Tampa Bay tomorrow and a preseason game Saturday against the Bucs, right? So Amani Hooker going to play a lot on Saturday? No. Is Xavier Woods going to play a lot on Saturday? No. Are they going to practice a bit on Thursday, but maybe also not a ton? I wouldn't surprise me if it went that way. Is Kevin Winston Jr. practicing or playing Saturday? Absolutely not. Is Quandre Diggs practicing Thursday or playing on Saturday? I'm at a 98% no after just joining. Who the heck is playing safety for them on Saturday? Julius Wood, Mike Brown, are they playing 100% of snaps? No, so Joshua Bledsoe is going to play too. So for me, those two reasons, what Diggs brings, the uniqueness of the relationships here, and then I look at the numbers game for Thursday and Saturday and who the hell is playing all these snaps. I think that's probably got a lot to do with the Joshua. It's the ugly side of the business where it's like we just need a body, but I think that's probably got a lot to do with the Joshua Bledsoe thing, more so than Kevin Winston.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I'm glad you mentioned all that. You made me feel a little better about Winston, but it's still something to monitor, obviously, as he recovers from the partially torn ACL, but that does make a lot of sense. And Quandre Diggs, by the way, Hook'em Texas Longhorns, my last 3 years at Texas, as a student at Texas, Quandre Diggs was a player at Texas. He was there from 2011 to 2014. I was at Texas from 2010 to spring 2014, so he played an extra season after I left.
I consider Quandre Diggs so old. I can't believe you were at Texas with Quandre Diggs.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite players when I was there. I love Quandre Diggs. I'm so glad he's back on the Titans, and the fact that him and the Cam Ward connection and all the coaching staff connections and Tyler Lockett, it's amazing. It's great. The camaraderie, the locker room camaraderie is amazing.
I'm with you on that, and I'd be remiss if I didn't add the interview he did with Jim Wyatt. Is like 6 minutes long with the media scrum. I watched the whole thing. It's so good. Jokes a lot about Cam Ward asking for money and intercepting him. No big deal. I've picked off a ton of number one overall picks. My favorite answer he gave was Jim Wyatt's. I think it was Wyatt said something about being like they got Amani Hooker, Xavier Woods, something about being content, and he smirked. He said, "Content. I'm a 3-time Pro Bowler and I'm a competitor." And he said, "I don't do content, gang. Like, I'm here to compete and play." Like, he wants to play. There's no doubt about it. And I love the answer he gave. He just feels like such a genuine person. They asked him about the foot injury. He said he told Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker, "I'm not here to scam anyone. I'm not into the business of being a scam artist. Like, I'm fine. I'm ready to go," kind of thing. So I'm excited that it is weird to me. I don't know how they're going to divide these numbers, the snaps. I'm excited to have them. Does he make them better? I put out a 53-man roster the other day. I will now have him replacing Julius Wood on my 50. Does that make the Titans better? Absolutely, it does by a long shot. So yes, this is a good move.
Yes, I agree. And one last thing from practice before we get into, looking ahead, our big announcement and everything. I just wanted to read this tweet from Lucas Panzica, Bucks producer, 104.5 The Zone. Cam Ward's natural ability to feel pressure and step up in the pocket is a refreshing thing to watch from a Titans quarterback. Amen, Lucas. That's what I said all draft season when we were like, this is pocket presence, guys. You want to know what absence of pocket presence is? That's Will Levis. You want to know what actual pocket presence is? That's Cam Ward, and we're going to see a lot of it, and I'm very excited. Justin, it's time. We're going to do it. We're going to make the big announcement, and I might have built this up too much. Like, people are going to be like, that's the announcement? Okay.
I think we did. Now, one person commented it on yesterday's YouTube video about not one.
So here's the thing. You guys are going to be excited about this. You just don't realize it yet. Like, once it happens and you understand what's going on, you'll be like, wow, I'm really glad that they're doing this. So we will be having a new contributor joining the Music City Audible channel. It's Drew Beatty. He's been writing and doing film breakdowns for you, Justin, for Titansize.com. Excellent film mind, does a great job with these film breakdowns. He tweets a lot of these cut-ups that he puts together as well on Twitter or on X, whatever. So follow him, Drew Beatty, at Iron City Film. He does great work, and he's going to do great work for our channel. Now, what does that mean for us and our show? Nothing. Our show's not going to change. It's going to be the Justin and Justin podcast. We're going to come to you anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week during the season to talk Titans, preview, recap, and etc. But Drew's just going to be additional content. So we want to find a way to keep videos in the feed every day from our channel, and Drew's going to help us do that. Drew's going to produce his own stuff. He's going to create, film breakdowns and any other content that inspires him. Not sure what the weekly cadence will be. Maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depending on what there is to break down and how long it takes to put one of those together. But we're really excited to have Drew joining the Music City Audible family, the Music City Audible channel. He's going to have his own, if you go to our YouTube channel page, he's going to have his own playlist, and all his content will be there. All of our content with the Music City Audible will stay exactly how it is with the podcast. I'll still do, some random narrative style, voiceover style videos. You and I will still do mini-sodes when it feels appropriate. So nothing's changing with our show, except that we will be trying to bring you all more content thanks to Drew's help. How'd I do?
Drew's one of the most underrated, one of the best followers on Titans Twitter right now. He's a young guy, still emerging in the space. He also just doesn't do Titans work. He does a lot of NFL draft work, so he's kind of split his time between endearing himself to the Titans audience, but also the wider NFL draft audience. Film work takes a lot. It takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time. In all honesty, like you and I have always talked about doing more of those, but in between our full-time jobs, working in football, doing 3 to 5 of these episodes a week, we tend to not always find the time that we want. Like, think of Cam Ward, week 1 preseason breakdown, Cam Ward, week 1 regular season Denver Broncos breakdown, like all this stuff, big touchdown plays. Drew is going to be here breaking it down for this audience. The best way I can put it to kind of keep it a little shorter is Drew will be producing the content for this channel at the level of excellence that you have come to expect. You are not going to be watching these film breakdowns and say, that is not worthy of the Music City Audible channel. This is just going to be more content coming your way in this feed that is of the same quality. The reason that you watch this show, it's going to be that level quality in film breakdown version. So really excited for Drew to get started. If all goes well, maybe within the next week or two, he'll have his first video based on, what transpires Saturday against the Bucs in the preseason.
Yeah, and we would like to bring Drew on to the podcast, as a third person for an episode next week to introduce him. He's not going to be a permanent third, so I know there's people that might be worried about that. We've had comments about how just having certain guests on has annoyed people. Sorry. But it's good to get extra perspectives outside of our two every once in a while, outside of us two every once in a while. But yeah, I think it would be nice to have you and me introduce Drew to our audience before he makes his first video. So we'll try to line that up for next week, but that's the announcement. Stay tuned to the channel for more stuff. If you like the content and you aren't already, make sure you subscribe to the Music City Audible channel. And while you're at it, like this video, drop a comment below. And we're excited to bring this next phase of the Music City Audible to all of you guys out there. Thanks for supporting the channel, Justin, because something else I wanted to announce. This is episode 400 of the Music City Audible podcast. Now, we haven't been on YouTube for 400 episodes. Yeah, you can't do that one. We haven't been on YouTube for 400 episodes because we just launched this a couple of years ago, way later than we should have. But this is the 400th episode. I'm proud of the work that you and I have done, Justin, over many years. And that doesn't include the 100 or so episodes we did of Titans Brawl before we started the Music City Audible.
An error I'd like to forget.
An error I'd like to forget.
Actually, it didn't. Okay, no. So look at that, 400 episodes of the Music City Audible. That's wow. I am humbled. I am proud of what you and I have achieved, and I'm even prouder of what we continue to build here every single day. Ever since we've moved to YouTube, this podcast has really grown its audience, and appreciate you guys for supporting us. It wouldn't be possible without you. No way we'd reach 400 episodes if you guys didn't give a shit about this show, in all honesty. So really appreciate every single one of you. Episode 400. Cheers to another 400. And who's sponsoring the cheers?
Oh, Sinkers Beverages will sponsor the cheers. I think we should get together. All of the Music City Audible listeners should get together at Sinkers' 40th birthday jamboree on Saturday, August 9th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern at the Eastern. What did I say? Eastern. At 5:30 p.m. at the Basement East. That's why. Basement East. I got confused. 5:30 p.m. Central at the Basement East on Saturday, August 9th. Get your tickets in the description of this podcast/video. Only $10. Comes with 2 free drinks. There'll be live music, lots of giveaways. Check out Sinkers Beverages 40th birthday jamboree this weekend. All right, Justin, let's look ahead quickly here. The Titans will be flying to Tampa Bay this afternoon or this evening for one joint practice with Tampa Bay on Thursday, and then Friday, maybe they'll do a walkthrough, maybe they'll just take it off. Saturday will be the first preseason game where we will see, as we learned this morning, we will see Cam Ward play a series or two. Something that stuck out to me, this is the tease from the opener, if you were paying attention, that Brian Callahan said in his press conference today that made my eyebrows raise, is that he is very excited to see this team play against the Buccaneers and specifically mentioned Baker Mayfield, who we know has been dealing with some kind of injury.
I didn't catch that.
So he dropped the name Baker. He said Baker Mayfield by name, Brian Callahan. Does he know something we don't know about? Is Baker going to be okay and ready and back at practice on Thursday? Or was he just kind of saying that they have a good quarterback and forgetting that, Mayfield hasn't been practicing the last few days?
Well, I guess we'll find that out on Thursday. It would be ideal for the Titans, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Baker Mayfield was out there because he's a 4,000-yard passer, a 35-yard touchdown thrower or whatever it was last year. And this is a secondary that needs to get some work in. And then you pair Baker Mayfield with, I don't know who's all practicing. I don't think Mike Evans will take a ton of reps, but they've got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin's on that roster, first-round pick in Ignika Egbuka, who a lot of Titans fans really liked at the position, who's by all accounts been dynamic at training camp for them. This is a huge test. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. talked about it after practice, said iron sharpens iron. He's looking forward to seeing those guys. I look in the trenches. Bucks got a great deep D-line, albeit, do you remember, I want to say they held joint practices with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few years ago.
Yeah.
I'll always remember this one tweet. I don't know if you know where I'm going.
Jason
when we
Pierre-Paul.
still had hope that Dylan Radins could be the right tackle of the future, and I think it was Teron Davenport or someone tweeted man, Shaq Barrett just put Dylan Radins in the ground on a rep. They got a great D-line. I think it's going to be a great test for this new look Titans O-line. Important to see how they hold up against that unit. And on the same is true on the opposite side. I know that they don't have Tristan Wirfs. I'm sorry.
Wait, sorry. Baker Mayfield. Sorry for cutting you off mid-sentence on a different subject.
No
I just looked this up. Baker Mayfield returned to practice on yesterday, for the Bucs. So Perfect. He should be out there on Thursday.
Great news for the Titans. You want the best players out there. So talked a little there about how the Titans O-line will handle the challenge from their D-line. Well, the opposite is also true. Yes, the Bucs don't have their, cornerstone left tackle Tristan Wirfs right now. He's dealing with an injury, but they do have some good young players. I think, Cody Mock is on that O-line. Luke Goddick is on that O-line. Curious to see how the Titans D-line handles that test. We know we've got some concerns about this edge rushing group. How they handle, that unit on the other side there will be worth watching. And again, receivers, DBs, to me, it's all about receivers, DBs, O-line, and D-line. Those are the position battles that I want to watch at joint practice. Titans have they've got a lot of questions at those four spots, and the Bucs are really good at some of them. So really good to watch. It's unfortunate this isn't two joint practices. With one, I think they said they're going to be doing a lot of low red zone work again, situational stuff. So you might not get a complete picture, but it's also a good appetizer. Remember, I think they're holding two joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons later this month. So this will be a good appetizer to that. And again, just a great test for your team when you get sick and tired of practicing against one another the whole time, right? So I know they're looking forward to getting down there to Tampa and seeing a really good football team, a division winner, a playoff team on that other side of the ball.
Yeah, Chris Godwin, by the way, not practicing still, recovering from a dislocated ankle. Maybe on track for week 1, but they're not even sure of that down there in Tampa Bay. You mentioned Tristan Wirfs out. That definitely changes things when you talk about the pass rush that we expect to be a weaker unit of the team going up against the backup tackle, but that means they should win some reps there. And I'm going to be looking for them to be winning reps and getting pressure against that offensive line. Baker Mayfield's back, so that connection with Mike Evans. Emeka Egbuka, you said it too. I mean, he's been lights out, and I'll be excited to see how the Titans are able to cover him. But the number one thing about everything else you mentioned, yes, looking forward to that. How does Cam Ward look against another team? That's the number one thing I'm going to be most curious to see, and we will find out tomorrow. So we will be back tomorrow to recap that practice. Can't wait to do that. Very excited about it. We'll also do a little bit of we'll use that to also kind of preview the preseason, Saturday's first preseason game, because we can talk about things that happened at practice and whether or not that'll translate to Saturday and what we're expecting to see carry over. So that'll be good for us. That'll be fun. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. Again, we're trying to reach 4,500 subscribers by the time training camp ends. We are less than 100 away, but we need your help. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it. Again, we will be back tomorrow, so you don't want to miss any of the content we got coming up Saturday, doing the live stream. You and Ryan Watson, formerly of the Coach's Corner podcast, should be a lot of fun. I'm bummed that I'm going to miss it, but I'm going to be having a pretty good time in Las Vegas. So sorry, everyone, but a long planned birthday trip for my fiance. So unfortunately, I will not be a part of that, but I'll watch the game and I'll have a good time. time, and hopefully I'll be able to do a little breakdown next week on how Cam Ward looked. So that's it for today. Until tomorrow, thanks again to Sinkers Beverages. You guys stay safe out there and tighten up. Sorry, I didn't say y'all. I said you guys. Y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.